Greetings to all of humanity. It's really a joy. It's my pleasure, as usual, always to greet you and bring this message of emancipation to you, whereby I'm pointing you to look no other place but to look inwardly to discover that your real identity is your divinity. Thus, the reason why I want to speak to you today concerning the rise of the magicians and how Abdullah taught Neville Goddard to discover his magical self. But just before I go in to this message, I just want to say to you that I have just uploaded my Abdullah and Neville Goddard merch, and I'm encouraging you to support this work and support the legacy of Abdullah and Neville Goddard by being a part of these merchandise that I'm offering to you. The link would be provided for you, and at this time I am making this video, I do not think that everything has already been put in place, but by the time you get this video, everything would be put in place. So with that being said, my brothers and my sisters, I want to get now into what I really want to speak to you about. Now, as I would have said before, I want to speak to you concerning the rise of the magicians. Now, Abdullah, the black mystic from Ethiopia, Neville Goddard mentor, he would have already known that the Bible was a book of magic, because Abdullah would have already studied the Kabbalah and was actually teaching Neville Goddard the Kabbalah and how all of these things have been put together in the Bible, and how we are actually magicians and we come from a magical land. Okay, now I mentioned that we came from a magical land based on experience that I would have had before, and would have actually gone to that land out of my body. I remember quite vividly when that happened to me. It was a night, I couldn't sleep. I just feel like there wasn't any sleep coming to me and so on, and I was drinking a lot of water, and this was pure water getting from the earth, pure spring water, and truly I can tell you that water has a memory, and the experience I had at that time is the fastest I would have ever traveled to go to that place where there is actually a magical land. Okay, so that's the reason why I mentioned that we actually came from a magical land. Okay, so we learned that Abdullah was teaching Neville Goddard all of these things because he wanted us to convey a message to Neville Goddard to bring to the rest of humanity. Therefore, Neville had to learn this message in the practical way. And that's why Neville always said to you that what he's saying to you, it is not theory. It is what he would have experienced. And I always say the same thing to you also, because hadn't it been that I would have experienced my magical self, which is my true self, my immortal self, I wouldn't have been here bringing this message to you also. Now, Abdullah taught Neville that there's a power that is greater than money, and this power can enable you to achieve your every desire, but you must activate this power. And when you activate this power, you will come to realize that you are the Lord and Master of your destiny, and that you can create your reality consciously. And it will also bring you to a place to realize that you're a magical being, and that you are actually a magician working with the power of the mind, or the power of thoughts. So every one of us are actually mental magicians, and every word that we speak from our mouth it's actually a spell. And so you can cast a spell to help others to be productive, creative, and very uplifting. And you can cast a spell also to keep people being destructive and to keep people in a mindset of mediocrity and poverty also. For someone would have commented on a video that I would have done, and they spoke about the gospel, and the gospel is supposed to be good spell or good news, but this guy said it is God with a spell. So they bring you under a spell where they program you with a God program, and they keep the people in prison or mental slavery. So I understand what he was really saying. Okay, so my brother and my sister, what I'm doing here, I'm bringing to you the true gospel. That's why Neville also said that Abdullah taught him true Christianity, because true Christianity will always teach you to discover your magical self, your higher self, your true self, and will always point you to look inwardly and learn that it is your own thought that is creating your reality, and that you can create your reality consciously. Also, Abdullah taught Neville Goddard that his imagination is the creator, and that when the Bible says in St. John 1:3 that all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made, that him is not speaking of a literal person who existed 2,000 years ago. That him is just a personification that represents the human imagination, teaching you that everything that has already been made, it was first imagined, it was first a thought, it was first an idea, and anything else that ever going to be made, it must first be a thought, it must first be an idea. So everything is mental, the whole universe is mental. So the first thing you have to understand as a magician is the law of mentalism. Okay, and work with the law of mentalism along with the laws, all the other laws that governs the universe and governs humanity. Many people would refer to what I'm saying here as alchemy and becoming an alchemist. But people who have religious mentality, when you speak of magic, they think of something negative. But the Bible tells you that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. That is teaching you concerning how to activate your magical self also. And then it tells you in Romans 4:17, I believe, that you must call those things that be not as though they are. So my brother and my sister is teaching you that you can speak things into being. And when you look at magic or a magician, those who perform, okay, as magicians, it is always something from the invisible to the visible most of the time that they're teaching you. So my brother and my sisters, you have to get more in touch with your invisible self to understand what I am trying to show you when I speak of being a magician. So Abdullah knew that there would come a time that there would be the rise of the magicians, where more and more people would wake up to discover their higher self. And that is why at the time when Abdullah was revealing such a secret to Neville, it was a time of Great Depression. As a matter of fact, it was around 1933, and the depression would have lasted from 1929 to 1939. And so Neville went to Abdullah with this burning desire to travel to Barbados to be with his family for the Christmas. And Abdullah told him that he would have already gone to Barbados and that he would have already gone first class. Now, that is what I refer to as real magic. So real magic is discovering your true self, discovering your higher self. So it was until Neville Goddard was willing enough to trust his imagination and was willing to sleep in his imagination night after night in his mother's home in Barbados while he was residing in New York. And also when he walked the streets of New York, He see himself in his imagination as if he's walking the streets of Barbados. It wasn't until that Neville was willing to do that that he could have activated this magical power that is within himself. And now we are living in a time of the machines, where we are living in time of AI, artificial intelligence. And this is the right time for you to activate that power. Because if you do not activate that power, you get stuck in the industrial age, when we are actually right now in the digital age. We're in a cyber age. And so when we look back at the Great Depression, when Abdullah was around teaching this truth, many people were still dwelling in the mindset of the agricultural age, when they would have moved on to the industrial age. There was a time of great industrialism, if there's such a word, and also there was a population explosion. And that was the time that people were supposed to vibrate higher. This kind of thing that I'm speaking to you is hidden also in the story of Noah. When they teach you, I think is in around, say, Genesis 6, around there, of the population explosion and industrialization, and then the earth was flooded. Yes, that's why we have www.com and so on, because the earth is flooded as I speak to you with what? Information. We're living in a great information age with population explosion and so on. And that's why you must rise to the other level to come in to that place of safety, which is the ark. You being the eight, discovering your higher self, your eternal self, your magical self. And I can go on and on. But my brother, my sisters, I just want to give you enough that you can chew on to realize that you are a magician. That's why the Bible tells you also concerning the story of Moses and Pharaoh's magician. Pharaoh's magician represent those who have the mindset of this world system, are those who dwell in the negative mindset and want to perform miracles or perform the impossible, what we call the impossible. Okay, that's why you see today that many people want to go to church and still call on the idol, yet they want to use the law of attraction. Okay, yet they're speaking against money and they're saying all of the bad things about money, but yet they want to create their reality consciously. So they're living a life of conflict. And that's what it was really teaching you when you speak about Pharaoh's magician. Okay, they were in that place of ignorance and they were creating unconsciously. But it's showing you now the Moses mindset, which is the mindset of those of us who understand that Moses meant to be born or to be drawn out of the water, and that our body is a slave to our mind, and our mother Red Sea was stopped because we were in a basket surrounded by water when it was in our mother's womb. It is those of us who understand that and know how to free ourselves. Those of us are the ones who would know how to tread on our rod and understand the mystery of the serpent, why our serpent swallowed their serpent, because we know of the great awakening. That's why you're told, as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so shall the Son of Man be lifted up. And many people do not know you'll be lifted up along your backbone, your spinal cord. And I'm speaking from experience. You know, many people can say it, you know, theoretically, you know, because they can read it in a book. And as I said, we live in an information age. But to have the experience is a different story. That is why I always share my story with you of my awakening. And so, my brother and my sisters, this is the time of the rise of the magician. The great awakening has been taking place down through the ages. Since the time Abdullah have revealed that to Nevill, and Nevill went public, it was all moving up to a time like this. So my brother and my sisters, I just want to use this time to encourage you and to strengthen you to get more in touch with your inner self, your higher self, by practicing more meditation and visualization. Practice breathing, and as I said before, there's so much information that's on the internet, but you need to get the right information and do not get drowned in the flood of intellectualism, because all the information can keep you in the realm of false knowing, which is intellectualism. Okay, I call it parrotism. It was revealed to me. The word parrotism was revealed to me, and that's why sometimes I refer to people and call them parrot, and some people get offended. They're just repeating or regurgitating what they hear others say, and that's how we were taught in school too. Okay, but Neville had to break all of that and activate the power in him to achieve his every desire and prove for himself that he is a true magician or a true alchemist. So with that being said, my brother and my sister, I want to thank you very much. And I want to say to you, if this is the first time that you've been listening to me and what I'm saying makes sense to you, is really resonating with you, if you haven't subscribed already, I'm encouraging you to subscribe, to like, to comment, or to share this video. But before I leave, I just want to remind you that this message I bring to you, that it is the single eye message of self-realization, of which Matthew 6:22 says that if your eye be single, your whole body be full of light. And hadn't it been that single eye would have awake within me when I wake from the dream of life and come to experience the change from mortal to immortality in a twinkling of an eye, I would have been here bringing this message to you. For you would feel that great and mighty earthquake, that great shaking, that great vibration, and you will awake within yourself as a fiery being, and you would hear the unearthly wind, and you would exit your skull when you've been ascended on high, and you will come to that place of Zion where you would come out of the tomb and become invisible and understand the crucifixion, understand the resurrection, understand the virgin birth, understand all of these things, and discover your magical self where you become invisible. And when you become invisible, then you can tell the story of the invisible to others. Not like the televangelists who want to teach you of the invisible and they have never became invisible. Okay? So my brother and my sisters, when you have that experience also, as I always say to you, you will come to realize that that whole experience is the rising of the S-U-N in a S-O-N, and that it is the dawning of a new day in your life. For the sun, as in the S-U-N, do parallels the human imagination. The human imagination parallels the sun. For without the sun, there is no life and there is no light. And without the human imagination, there isn't anything made that was made. And your soul is speaking of your sun man, your invisible self. And the sun is solar, sol. It is the same thing. Okay, so my brother and my sisters, that is why, as I said to you, the sun, without the sun there is no life and there is no light, and without the human imagination there isn't anything made that was made. And you're told that the Lord thy God is a sun and a shield, and no good thing will he withhold from you, in Psalms 84:11. And truly common sense will teach you that the sun has never withheld any good thing from humanity, for the sun is what powers all of humanity, doesn't matter who you are, and give all of humanity its energy. Then also in Malachi chapter 1 verses 2, you're told that the Son of Righteousness shall arise in you, not outside of you, in you, with healing in his wings. And that is why when the Son has risen in me, I'm bringing healing to all of humanity and pointing each and every one to look inwardly, to discover that their real identity is their divinity. And that is why I always encourage you to use your mind power, which is your solar power, your sun power, your God power, your creative power, which is actually sexual power. Use that power to achieve your every desire and prove for yourself that you are a magician. For that was the message that was taught to Neville Goddard by our ancestor Abdullah, the black mystic from Ethiopia. So with that being said, I want to say peace, love you all, I'm out.